Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining me as we spend this next hour together. I'm Kelly Wright. I'm so glad you could be a part of us, and I hope that you're safe and well, taking care of yourself and your family because you matter. And my opening observations tonight are about the fact that you matter. You see, today is Giving Tuesday, and with all that's going on in our country right now and the world, there's a lot to give. There's a heart to give, there's money to give, there's treasure to give. Scripture once said that give and it shall come back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. So we should never neglect the fact that when we have an opportunity to give, for example, to give food for the people who are on the food lines because of the shortage of food in their homes due to the disruption of this economy, or giving healthcare provisions to people who are in dire straits and they're sick, or just giving time of the day to help someone understand that no matter how difficult these times are, we can get through this together. But tonight we're going to talk about giving knowledge by helping a child go to college. You see, Nelson Mandela once stated that education is the gateway out of poverty. And so we want to talk about something specific tonight. We're going to be talking to the leader of one of the oldest Black fraternities in the country, as well as the leader of Base 11. We'll hear a lot about them. You may not have known about them, but they are engaged in helping young African American and Latino students and other people of color achieve the dream of operating in STEM careers: science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And that is the wave of the future. And they're preparing young minds to be prepared to go into those fields right now. The future is bright for them, and we'll discuss that tonight on this Giving Tuesday. But first, let me give you an example of just how good Base 11 is. Watch this.
What motivated me to sign up for the STEM Entrepreneur Summit is the fact that I am a STEM student. I love science, technology, engineering, and math. And when I found out there was a summit welcoming entrepreneurs like myself, I wanted to be a part of it.
The unique combination of STEM education and entrepreneurship combined together. And it gave us a vision of really having this goal to produce the 21st century STEM entrepreneurs and workforce. And that's what got us here.
I really like what Darren Hardy has had to say. Him speaking about being an entrepreneur and being a leader.
It opened my eyes to new opportunities and that STEM is very demanding and it is something that I definitely want to pursue.
To introduce them to the opportunity of entrepreneurship and open their eyes to what's possible, not just in the landscape of economics, but what's possible inside each of them. The sole proprietor has an unlimited opportunity today to start and ignite their ideas, unprecedented in human history. For the individual entrepreneur, there has never been a more opportune time.
Finding ways for Shark Tank, this big brand, to support entrepreneurship. So getting more young people on a track with technical expertise that can then lead to getting funding is something that I'm really excited about, and definitely excited about having more folks from diverse communities, not only in these conversations, but also leading these companies and getting the investments that they'll deserve.
I am representing South Mountain Community College, which is in Phoenix, Arizona. It was important for me and my team to be here in order to really reinforce the entrepreneur mindset and the power that us as students have for the future generations, and in order to lead those generations and be the example of leaders that this nation needs.
What do all these companies have in common? All of these companies were started by founders in their teens or 20s. These companies were started by people just like you.
That is an inspiring video from powerful students who are on their way to doing some great things, not only for this country, but for the world. When we return, we'll talk to the founder of Base 11, and we'll also talk to a member of one of the oldest fraternities, Black fraternities in this country. That's next. Welcome back to the program. So recently I had the pleasure of interviewing Dwayne Murray and Landon Taylor about Base 11. Here's my interview with them now. And one of the most important things going on right now is the fact that we find ourselves dealing with climate change, dealing with the need to have more science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and just all of that. And getting African Americans involved is so important. So joining me now is Dwayne Murray, as well as Landon Taylor. They're going to talk to us about Base 11 and the fact that a fraternity is also involved in and engaged in getting this implemented throughout our country to really impact the lives of our young Black Americans and even teach some of us, as I like to say, old heads how to stay up with it as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Dwayne, let me begin with you because you represent a fraternity that got actively engaged in this. Tell me about the fraternity and all that it's seeking to do.
Well, yes, and thank you very much, Kelly. We're delighted to be a part of your show today, and
Delighted to have you.
we're pleased to be here. Well, Sigma Pi Phi, also known as the Boule, is the oldest Greek-lettered fraternity in the world, comprising predominantly of men of African descent. We were founded in 1904 in Philadelphia by 6 college and university-educated African-American professionals. Those men were Henry Minton, Algernon Jackson, Edwin Howard, Richard Warwick, Robert Appleby, and Eugene Henson. Our current membership is approximately 5,000 members throughout the United States. You know, we consist of educators, scientists, business leaders, politicians, iconic figures like Du Bois, King, John Lewis, Elijah Cummings, John Hope Franklin, and a host of others.
Those are some great names. I had the pleasure of interviewing John Hope Franklin when he was the chairman of President Clinton's dialogue on race. It was, I will never forget that experience, never, ever. And of course, all the others, I could go through the list, but it's just great that all of them come from that space. So you got involved with Base 11. Why?
Well, Base 11 is an organization that we felt we had common goals and common vision, common initiatives. I mean, they were willing to work with young people from high school all the way through college and after college to make sure that certain economic barriers would be removed. And so we had a big picture in the conversation that I had with its CEO, Landon Taylor, who's with us today, about creating a Next Frontier Initiative challenge where we would motivate and educate young people to careers in science. And so we developed this, what I want to call this big picture, to be known as the premier African-American program throughout the country that will serve a talent pool for key companies in the science, technology, legal, medicine, entrepreneurship areas, and other STEM fields. The goal singularly was to enhance the skills and knowledge base necessary for college, African-American students, and other young adults to impact a world that is evolving at a very rapid pace regarding technology and knowledge of the 21st century skills that are necessary to be successful in life.
Let me bring in Landon Taylor. Landon, you're head of Base 11. The name Base 11, tell me what that stands for first.
Well, first of all, Kelly, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I really like your show.
Thank you.
I'm encouraged to be able to be here with you and your viewers. I wish I could take the credit for the name Base 11. When we founded the company, I came up with a lot of regular names, and some smarter people than I said, Landon, what you're trying to do is achieve something that's never been achieved before and to take things to the next level. The base numeric system is base 10. And they said, in order to solve this problem, we need to go to the next level. And so hence the name Base 11, going from base 10 to base 11.
Excellent. And Base 11 seeks to do what for Black Americans in terms of STEM development?
Yeah, so Base 11 is a national nonprofit STEM workforce and entrepreneur development company. And our focus is to find, engage, and empower high potential, low resource students and young adults with an emphasis, as you say, on people of color, African Americans, to be able to accelerate them on their pathway to success in STEM careers. And for us, that marker, if you will, that big, hairy, audacious goal, metric of success is them achieving one or more of three goals. One is to get admitted into a four-year university STEM program, studying a STEM degree. Goal number two is for them to get hired in a high-paid STEM job. Goal number three is to get them to get trained in STEM entrepreneurialism. So if they achieve one or more of those three goals, they've reached the victory circle. And we set out, Kelly, back in 2014, we set a big, hairy, audacious goal to accelerate 11,000 students on their pathway to the victory circle, to STEM careers. And I'm proud to report that we reached that goal a year early at the end of 2019 by exceeding 11,000. So that is really what our objective, that's what our objective has been. I say has been because we have bigger things to come, but that's what it's been.
We'll be back with more of our conversation after this. Welcome back to the program. Continuing now with that recent interview that I had with Dwayne Murray and Landon Taylor about the importance of getting our youth involved in STEM disciplines. Here now is more of my interview. So what are the bigger things you want to accomplish?
Well, listen, when we achieved that goal, we said, well, what's next? And the board of directors and I said, well, I think there's only one choice. That's to go big or go home. So we said, well, we figured this, we've got the model figured out. Now let's scale by 10x. So we said, let's now accelerate 100,000 students and young adults to what we now call next frontier careers by 2030. Now, what do I mean by next frontier? These are the industries that we see as the next frontier. So the past frontier, the last one, was the internet and technology, right? In the early 2000s. But the challenge, Kelly, is that people of color, particularly Black people, were left out of that frontier. Mm-hmm. And so what we said is the next frontier, what are those industries? Data analytics, life sciences, autonomous systems, cyber, fintech. Let's make sure that now these young people are positioned for success in the next frontier careers by the year 2030, 100,000. But then, Kelly, I saw one of your shows, again, just another tragic murder of a Black man just recently. In May, of course, we saw the tragic death of George Floyd. And at that time, I had two reactions. One, our people, there's way too many places or areas where our people can't breathe. And number two, we must achieve parity for Black America. So it was at that time that my response was, we need to look at African-American population is 13.4%, but yet we are underrepresented in all the areas that matter. For example, STEM degrees, we are only 9% of the STEM degrees. We're only 5% of the STEM jobs. We're less than 1% of the CEOs, Fortune 500 CEOs. So we said, let's set a big goal to achieve parity and achieve 13.4% of the STEM degrees by the year 2030. And that's when I went to Dwayne Murray, Grand Sire Archon of Sigma Pi Phi, which I am also a proud member of, and said, let's do this. Let's make sure of those 100,000 that we're going to pursue, 50%, 50,000 African-American young men and women who are students and young adults, let's make sure that they are positioned, as Dwayne said, to be those leaders of the 21st century by 2030.
I'm reminded of some of the innovators of our past, George Washington Carver, Booker T. Washington, Garrett Morrison, Charles Drew, the list goes on, of great accomplishments in science University of Timbuktu, with mathematics. If we forget that we have the capacity to do this, and if we don't really address it, we are doing ourselves a very, very dastardly disservice, a dastardly deed inflicted upon ourselves. So I commend you both for getting out there in front of this.
Success Hour program, has a 2-year goal. We have a 10-year goal. In 2 years, we're looking at a minimum of 5,000 students matriculating through the program. We want these students in these high employment areas. In 10 years, we're looking at 50,000 graduates. And so within our membership, as Landon has indicated, using his tools of his industry, partnership with corporate America, we have within the Boulay an HBCU grant committee. We have a Boulay Board of Directors committee. We also have a Young Achievers Academy with respect to African American males, where we want to make sure that all of the wherewithal of Sigma Pi Phi and the backroom knowledge of Base 11 is pooled together to make sure that we bridge this next technology for the future with these young people. We're also working with Overland, who is a major company in technology, and they're putting together that will be made available to these students as a part of their next frontier playbook, an opportunity to have one landing platform where all of their personal information, from digital resumes, their work product that they're going to be working on, that we're going to vet to make sure that they, at the end of the program, become Boulay Fellows. We're looking to make sure that this platform is a part of this operation, to make sure that these young people have an opportunity to be successful in life. Kelly, we're really excited, we're motivated, we're looking for the best for all of these young people.
When we return, we'll be talking to the students who are part of Base 11.
By 2020, 33% of Black and Latino males will not graduate high school. So it is really important for us to think about how we address these two issues. And diversity is going to be key in making sure that we're developing the talent and the future leaders of our society.
They're constantly preparing you for the real world, not just, college, but what goes after college.
Every student goes to a job one day out of the week. So at my work study job, I've seen 3D printers and all of the machinery that goes into that.
I'm definitely looking forward to using 3D printers since I've never seen them in real life.
We focus on the total engagement strategies, every student, every question, every time, and the hands-on approach definitely fits that model. They're building and creating, and they're watching these new concepts come to life.
Welcome back to the program. So as long as we're talking about Base 11 and the wonderful projects that it's engaged in terms of inspiring and encouraging young African Americans to get involved into STEM disciplines and careers, it's the new frontier. So why not talk to the students and hear it from them? So joining me now is Breanna Allen. She is joining us from East Lansing, Michigan. It's so good to have you on the program. And she's in her senior year of college at Michigan State. She joins us now from East Lansing, and that, of course, is Breanna Allen. Breanna, I'm delighted to hear your vision of wanting to go into NASA. That is quite a great aspiration, and I think you're going to achieve it.
Oh, thank you.
And in reaching for NASA, what is it you hope to accomplish while there?
I'm really, it's a self goal for me. Aside from STEM being a passion, particularly aerospace, it's just that there are so many doubters and people that are going to make you feel, although you as this minority or whoever you are not able to achieve something that plenty of other people have before. So it's just something that I told myself, I want to do this, and really, you work hard and you work to do what you want to do eventually later in life, and it'll get done. I mean, no matter how long it takes, that's the plan.
It's a very good plan. And, in this age of coronavirus, the pandemic, And of course, the epidemic of racial virus in this country since the death of George Floyd and Breanna Taylor and so many others. It's been a sad statement about what's happened. As a young African-American woman who's looking at her career, getting through college, what would be your encouragement or your advice to other young African-Americans? You know, we have Black Lives Matter that on the front lines protesting, but there's also the academic aspect, there's the policy aspect, there's reaching for that goal and accomplishing it. How does that all fit into this tumultuous year that we've had?
Right. My advice is just to, despite your obstacles, we know that great things are not going to come easy. And for minorities, it's going to be a rougher, longer journey, but we really just have to have that strength. And I really want youth out there to realize their potential sooner. There will be doubters, and that's going to be your first obstacle. And it's not believing the doubters and believing in yourself. Like, it sounds so corny, but that is really what it is, because you have to fight that internal battle first before you can excel. You have to fight that internal battle within yourself, knowing that, hey, these are people, they're saying this and that. However, I know what I'm capable of. And even if I'm not capable of it now, I'm going to make sure that I will be capable of it eventually. No matter how long it takes, you can do it. And you have to know that within yourself before you pursue that journey. But once you know it, you'll fly right through.
You know, Breanna, there's nothing corny about that at all. That's just a straight up truth. And I'm glad you're delivering that to a lot of young African Americans who are watching this program today, showing that all things are possible if you put your mind to it. How has Base 11 helped you in your association with Base 11?
Right. Base 11 has been such a help in so many ways. They are that boost you need. We as minorities, we're not given so many opportunities. You think, like, even you go to class and this person says, oh, my dad, he's an engineer. Like, they're dishing out A's easy as can be, and you're struggling. You have to go to extra help. And that's fine, because everyone's journey is different. Nobody's story will be the same. And sometimes you will be given the short end of the stick. That's just how life works, but that's fine, because you're going to make your way. And Base 11 is really that source that provides minorities that helping hand they need. They give you knowledge, technical information, the professional experience that you need. They give you exposure, and exposure is the key. Once you know what's out there, because a lot of these things, they're not really advertised, and you have to look for them yourselves. Like, no amazing opportunity is just going to walk in front of you and say, hey, I'm right here, come get me. You have to go look for those opportunities, and Base 11 will make sure those opportunities are presented to you.
I just think you're an incredible, talented young African-American woman destined for some great things. So don't be afraid of conquering the new frontier. The sky's the limit.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Coming back with more, we'll talk to more students who are associated with Base 11 and the great accomplishments they're making as well, just like Breanna Allen. Welcome back to the program. So we're continuing our focus on Base 11 and how it is actually helping a lot of young African-American students and other students of color get actively engaged and involved in STEM development.
Base 11 is a nonprofit STEM workforce and entrepreneur development company that's out to solve two of our country's most significant problems. Number one is the growing STEM talent pipeline crisis that's only getting worse by the underrepresentation of women and students from underrepresented communities. And number two is a lack of a sustainable middle class in America made up of all Americans.
Joining me now all the way from California is Lucky Kanyi. And she is originally from Nairobi, Kenya. She's a student here in the United States. She's been living here for a number of years now, and she is focusing on STEM development and all of the things that this brings to the new frontier of careers. Thanks for being on the program, Lucky.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about your involvement in Base 11 and what it's meant for you to pursue a career in STEM disciplines.
My interest in STEM started really early, and so Base 11 was an easy decision for me while I was at SMC. And the good thing about Base 11 was it gives you skills that you will get from a four-year college, and that for me was very critical because while I move into or transfer to a four-year, I will need those skills, and so Base 11 was a starting point for me.
Well, that's a good place to start. And do you find that they serve the role as a mentor to you to help you maneuver through your educational process and also to help you define clearly the goals that you have?
Definitely. I think I got into, because Base 11 has a few categories in engineering and a few colleges, four-year colleges that they work with. So I ended up in UCI, and what my interest was, or is still is AI and robotics. So the title of the school is UCI Autonomous Systems Engineering Academy. And so that was more like starting of building blocks onto my career into AI.
And where are you at in your educational development right now?
So I transfer next year. I finish off with SMC this year. So I transfer next year. Hopefully UCI takes me. Yeah.
That's good. And what's your ultimate goal? You mentioned AI and robotics.
Yeah.
Why that field?
I think that's where the world is headed. Everything's being automated, and why not get into it and learn more about it?
What would be your advice to people your age in terms of getting through all of this and keeping the focus on becoming the best that they can become?
Oh, wow. I'm not the best of example, but I'm trying. So my advice is surround yourself with positive people. Surround yourself with your support system. Try and find people who will support your dreams to the best of your ability. If it's not financially, try and see if they can advise you in any kind of way. FaceTime as much as you can. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to fellow students to get there. It's important.
It is indeed very important. Lucky, I got to ask you, your name. How did your parents come up with naming you Lucky?
So my mom was reading, this is her story. She was reading the Jackie Collins novels. So there is a character there called Lucky. And so she thought that's a badass name, so she gave it to me.
Well, may your good fortune be not based on luck, but based on your skill, your talent, and your God-given gifts and your intellect to move forward to achieve your goals. And thank you for all that you're doing for yourself and for others. I have no doubt that you will move on into AI and help the world with healthcare. And I appreciate you so much for being on tonight's program. Lucky Kanyi, appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
And we're coming back with more after this. Welcome back to the program. So joining me now is Francisco Gomez. He is a Base 11 Victory Circle student. He grew up in South Los Angeles, and He embarked upon this program to pursue STEM development, and he's just done some incredible things with his own career. He's launched his own business after graduating with a degree in engineering from the University of California. Francisco, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Kelly. It's an honor, honestly.
It's an honor to have you too. You got to tell me about your pathway to success, utilizing STEM disciplines and taking advantage of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and so much more. And the fact that you had good mentoring from Base 11.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So my journey started here, like I said, in South Central Los Angeles. So growing up, it was very hard for me to go outside and look at my community and look at different sources that I could go to kind of pursue my engineering know-how. Growing up, my father had a custom cabinet business, so I got a lot of mechanical know-how there from building different things, cabinets, shelves, you name it. So I think my father was a big influence in me actually pursuing that, and being a Latino in STEM is something that really pushed me as well. And going to East Los Angeles College, you didn't really see a lot of that, Latinos in STEM, minorities in STEM for that matter at all. So that's actually when I started outsourcing and looking for resources, because at a community college level, there aren't that many resources for us available in STEM, especially for a minority. So Base 11 actually gave me the opportunity and looked at me as a holistic application and actually gave me a shot. And there I was able to actually be inside a USC laboratory working on groundbreaking research there. There I was able to work a lot with MATLAB and work closely with a lot of the research assistants there and professors there to utilize a lot of my engineering know-how that I was learning in classes, and what I wasn't even learning at the time because I was at community college. Being there really helped me and really gave me a sense of what I could become and what it really takes to get to where you need to get to. And they emphasized the fact that in addition to being a part of the program, there would be a lot of leadership opportunities to present and grow with after the fact. And that was exactly what happened at Base 11. There was not one time that they told me I couldn't do anything. If I had an idea that I wanted to do something, there was always support there. And that's something that I did, like I said, I'd never really found in the community. So to find that close-knit group of people and be a part of the Victory Circle is very empowering for me. And that actually gave me an internship and the opportunity to go work for a Fortune 500 company, Cummins Incorporated. So there I made another journey and went to go live in Indiana and go pursue my engineering passion. And that's what ultimately made me come back to my community and try to inspire more people and start my own company. And that's when I put two and two together with my engineering and my car know-how and my passion, and I decided to manufacture parts. And it started as a side thing, just me doing it on the side for my personal projects. And it kind of transitioned into, hey, I can kind of do something with this and really build a brand. And it really started to make me understand that I always had that entrepreneurial mindset. And Base 11 saw that and really took that into consideration and really pushed me and empowered me to do that. And that's what ultimately made me end up at the company that I am right now, which is Evolution Spine. And that's a startup that we do biomedical devices specifically with spine. And for me, it's very empowering because, like I said, I'm able to come back to my community now and show these other kids and individuals that if you have an interest for STEM, there's opportunities out there for you. There's people like Base 11 out there to help you. You just have to go out there and get it. And the fact that I put myself out of my comfort zone, went out and got it, and talked to the right people at Base 11, I was able to accomplish more than what I ever thought was statistically possible for me in the neighborhood that I'm in. So very empowering, and it's very humbling to be able to come back to a show like this and share my story and give back to the community that also gave back to me to make me who I am.
Take a slight break, and when we come back, I just want to talk a little bit more about what it's like to have achieved success and still working towards that and creating greater success, but also bringing it back to your hood to do some good. We're talking to Francisco Gomez. We'll be right back after the break. And welcome back to the program. So I'm talking to Francisco Gomez. He's part of the Base 11 Victory Circle, and with good reason. You see, he went on to achieve some great things, including launching his own business. And then what I like about your story, Francisco, is that not only did you achieve your success, but you brought it back to the community you grew up in, as you stated, to show other kids in your neighborhood and in your community how they can accomplish great things as well. What motivated you to do that? Because a lot of people, when they grow up in dire circumstances or tough circumstances, they leave their communities and never return.
Yeah, so I think something that really stuck to me is my mother actually works in law enforcement, and she sees it firsthand of all the things that could really happen if you're put in a bad situation. And she sees the positive impact that you can make, just one person can make in an individual by just taking the time to go and, you know, ask about them and their interests and pursue them with them. So that's kind of what I took into consideration. And also looking back in my life, there was, said growing up, a lot of people that didn't really know how to guide me, but in reality, it was just about having that initial conversation. I kind of took it one step further, actually. When I came back from finishing up my internship, I actually became a instructor for an after school program for enrichment, and it was specifically for engineering. And what I was doing at this program is I was going to different after school programs and actually teaching STEM, different variations of physics, electricity, mechanisms, whatever you say, to low income communities. And that became empowering because it kind of, I saw the twinkle in that one or two couple of students in each class that I knew that they had something that clicked for them, and I had to go pursue it for them the same way it did for me. For me, it might have been Legos in the second grade, and for them, it might be what we have now today, which is, you know, a lot of different robotics and different sets. So for me, I think being able to be that same person that nobody was for me and kind of inspire them is something that really pushed me. Like I said, football really helped me. I've been a youth football coach for the past 7 years now, and actually just started coaching high school football at the same high school that I went to. And it's very, very empowering just to be able to go back and see yourself in retrospect and say, I was just here a couple years ago. Who's to say I can't be where I want to be 10 years from now? It's going to be the same thing, me looking back and saying, why was I so worried to begin with? And I think it's having that confidence and sharing that confidence to the community. I think that's the only way that eventually I'm going to see more Latinos in the STEM field.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what's your message? We've been through tough years, you know, coronavirus, and then the epidemic of racism and the divide that we've had politically in this country. There are a lot of things that have come against us, particularly the Black and brown communities. We've been adversely impacted by COVID, adversely impacted by problems within our communities. You mentioned your mom in law enforcement. Certainly she has seen it on the front lines of what goes on. But despite all of that, we still have the opportunity to see our young people get actively engaged in all of those disciplines, and especially in STEM, and have a future and a new frontier. You've created a business. What's your message to Black and brown students today, and how they can achieve greatness against all odds?
That's a great question. And I've always thought about this because, you know, I do see the constant obstacles in front of minorities every single day, not just academically, but personally and just ethically. And I think for me, what's been able to help me keep going is just to stay focused and understand that a lot of times you have to work twice as much to get half of what the other person has. And understanding that and being okay with that everybody is born in different circumstances. But like I said, it's not about the circumstances that you're put in, it's the circumstances that you put yourself in to take yourself out of that situation. And I think that's all I did. I put myself and surrounded myself around the right type of people. And I really believe in the saying, birds of a feather flock together. So I wasn't on a Friday night hanging over here with the neighbors. I was Friday night at the library at my community college or at my university, you know, basically doing what I needed to do to get myself out of the situation. And it wasn't to say that I wasn't staying true to my roots, because a lot of people might say I can't stay true to my roots, but it's just a matter of, like I said, putting yourself in the right situation and having the right mentality to know that you're going to be faced with obstacles, but it doesn't mean that you can't persevere and show everyone that grit mentality that everyone was born with.
Francisco, thank you for all that you're doing. And the name of your company is?
Kraken Engine Performance.
And you're doing some great things in that. What do you see on the horizon? Where are you going? I mean, one company is not enough.
Yeah, I know that. I'm already looking at my next endeavor, but there I really do see to really make high performing Japanese car parts and at an affordable price. And I really think I can do some innovative things that nobody's done before.
And all of that came as a result of you paying attention to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Oh yeah, all of that every single day.
So while it can be challenging for some, it can be quite promising for others.
Yes, sir.
All right, it's quite an accomplishment, my friend. I see why you're part of the Base 11 Victory Circle. Thank you so much for being on this program. Honored to have you.
Thank you for having me, Kelly. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll be back with more after this. And welcome back. I'd like to thank all of the guests who appeared on tonight's program, and certainly Base 11, as you can see, is doing a great work for the future of the African American community, the Latino community, and other communities of color. And kudos to Sigma Pi Phi, the oldest Black fraternity in the country, for the great work that you're doing to help Base 11 achieve this goal of making sure that our students go on to brighter futures because of STEM careers. Finally, I hope you've enlightened, ignited, and united to keep spreading knowledge, love, freedom, and peace. Good night, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your friendly conductor. All aboard the Love Train. All aboard the Love Train. Come on, all aboard. Let me break it down for you like this. The rhythm of love is easy to find if you're listening. The color of light isn't red, black, or white, but it's crimson. We all bleed the same. If you don't feel the groove, it's alright. Just give it time, give it time. Come on, y'all. Get on board. Mankind won't survive if our hearts beat inside a hateful rhythm. You see, love isn't bought, but comes with a price of forgiveness, and we all bleed the same. Yeah. If you don't feel it now, just wait.